Hey, so just popping back in. This is another video about how to use AI that I think a lot of people would really find useful. I've been able to use AIs a lot more effectively. So let me just explain it quick. So if we go to, we can see I've got three AI tabs open. I'm using three different AIs. The first one I'm using is 5.1 thinking from ChatGPT. The second one I'm using is ChatGPT 5 Pro. The third one I'm using, I've talked about in my prior videos. I've kind of you can think of it as like smuggling it into a remote system. So I used SSH, I used remote SSH extension, remote Explorer extension in VS Code to SSH to my Dell PowerEdge server. And then from there, I installed the Codex extension, so it's installed actually on the server. And because of that, it has the ability to actually do things locally on the server. So it's still going to be the full model. I'm not running the model on the server hardware. I'm just allowing the model to access it. So it's a super good model. It's relatively fast. It's high powerful, but now it can do things to the server. So how do I manage the three of these? I'll tell you how. There's a really good system I came up with. So basically, every time I paste in anything into any one of these boxes here for each of the three ones I'm using, I start with an opening, and the opening says hi, the person, the entity being talked to, the entity talking here, and then so there's three entities. There's the 5.1 thinking entity, which I call the architect because it's really well suited for that. The other entity involved in this conversation is 5 Pro, and you can guess what that's really well suited for. It's really well suited for research. So I call that the researcher. And then you might be able to guess this one as well. The Codex in the server is really well suited to be the engineer. So those are three of the four parties in this four-party conversation. The fourth party is, of course, myself. So I have this system where every time these entities reply, including myself, you can see there's quite a few messages I wrote. Every wrote I wrote here follows this convention. Every reply I've written follows that convention, unless it's having trouble doing the convention. But we can see the convention is very clear. I talk to the architect by saying, "Hi, architect Graham here." I talk to the engineer, and I talk to the researcher, and everyone can talk to everyone else. So that's the first thing I did here is I set up this convention, and I made sure that all the AIs, the three AIs, understand the convention and can follow it. And I noticed something kind of interesting. The architect actually couldn't follow the convention for a while. So I say, "Hi, architect Graham here. What time is it?" It says, "Hi, architect Graham here." So we got it wrong. It is obviously not Graham. It is not a human. So you didn't follow the convention. Hi, architect Graham here. Okay, so we figured out the problem. The problem is you've got all of these to choose from. It looks like there's only two now. Um, but when you select auto, it just picks whatever one it thinks is best through whatever logic. I don't know. But if it picks the instant one, it's not smart enough to follow these conventions. So there's basically no reason to ever set it to auto because the instant one is not that much faster. Like the thinking just takes like a few extra seconds, and it can follow conventions like this. So I hard coded this here using the drop-down menu to 5.1 thinking. There's no reason to ever use auto basically, and there's no reason ever to use instant. Like the only reason you would use instant or auto is because you say like, oh, what is a command to do this, or what is the capital of Wisconsin, stuff like that. But even then, it's just you can wait an extra, 2 to 5 seconds to get that answer. And if it gives you the wrong answer, um, you potentially wasted hours of time or made some big costly mistakes. So I think from this point forward, I'll probably be hard coding most of my conversations to thinking. But what I used to do is just use Pro for everything, and wait like 5 to 15 minutes for responses. I don't think that's very smart. So that's why I turned this into. Initially, I was just having it as a three-way conversation. I was going to use Pro for everything, uh, and I was just going to have an architect, an engineer, and myself. But that doesn't make sense. A four-way conversation is better. So you can see it's spelled out. We got it nailed down. So hi architect Graham here. Okay, you're hard coded to thinking, and now it catches on. So thinking is the right one to use. Um, and then we talked to each other, figured it out. Yep, we should make it four-way because 5 Pro is a very powerful model and we should utilize it effectively. So here's the role layout. We have an architect, we have an engineer, we have a researcher, and then we have myself as well. So I just wanted to make to pull that out because it makes working with these in a four-way conversation super easy. So hi architect, engineer here. So where does this go? It goes to the architect. So we can see it ends with safe to touch Maestro gate program. So let's go to the or it goes to the engineer rather. So let's go to the engineer. Let's see what I pasted in last. Up, safe to touch Maestro gate for ground. Perfect. So now it says, hi, architect engineer here. So we know exactly where this message goes here. We can just simply copy it and just simply paste it. And then myself, Graham the human, the probably the most flawed entity in this four-way conversation, uh, just simply does this basic, really easy to manage work. And then if they have any questions for me, if any of these three AIs need my help, they'll say, "Hi, Graham," right? And then I can intervene. And then the cool thing about that too is when I respond, I say, "Hi." So if this said, "Hi, Graham, architect here," I could say, "Hi, architect Graham here," and it'll know like I'm a flawed human. I set it up to know that I kind of have some flaws and I might not do things perfectly. And then it can say like it can get some other entity to help it if it's not satisfied with my work. But you can see how easy this convention makes it. So hi engineer architect here. I know exactly what to do. I click copy here, and then I go to the engineer here. Paste this in. All right, and now the engineer has the ability to affect the local system. So we can see the engineer is and not only that, the engineer is using a coding model, right? Not just a pure thinking model. So it's planning the implementation, right? It didn't plan the feature. The feature is planned by the thinking model. So you're using each model kind of the way they're meant to be used, and then you're keeping track of like which model is which. And then the really key bonus, I think that is you're intellectually testing each of the models. So we saw that the auto router, couldn't follow the convention, toss it to the curb, right? So now we can make decisions about which model we want involved in our work and which not, and that's really important because if you have a model that's giving you back misinformation, you got to kick it to the curb, as quickly as you can, or else it's going to really ruin things. So I think that's it for the video. The final thing I'll say is one thing that's really cool you can do with this too is Kimi K2 is probably the best thinking model right now out there. So if you set it to thinking mode, this actually beats all of the benchmarks. So what we can even do is we can have these rules be across providers. So we can have Kimi K2 follow this convention, hi X here, and we can paste these messages in between different providers. So that'll enable us to only use to use the best models available, regardless of which company they belong to. Of course, I don't have a subscription to K2, so I might run out of usage faster. For now, I'm just going to stick with ChatGPT, so I don't have to worry about upgrading my plan. Um, but yeah, that there's a lot of power here. I just figured people would want to see that because I think it will help people to use these AIs.